Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
All right, you're very welcome back to Off the Ball this Monday evening. Neil Treacy here with you until 10 o'clock here on News Talk. Liverpool and Southampton kicking off at St Mary's at 8 o'clock. So Mark Lawrenson has joined us now to look ahead to that game. Evening, Mark. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Neil, too.
To recap on this Happy New Year, so how do you feel about Jordan Henderson and Fabinho starting in centre defence together? Well,
didn't Henderson play in the World Club Championship as a centre-back? If my memory serves me right, in the final. Listen, it's not a great issue because look at Southampton. They've not got a massive physical presence up front. Danny Ings, I think, is playing, isn't he? So he's got good movement and he's quick. So I wouldn't be worried too much. Both of these guys, I mean, Fabinho's found it really, really easy. But I think with both of them, if they do happen to make a mistake, they've got the power and the pace to recover. The only thing is, you just don't know how they're going to go together in terms of, the two of them as a partnership. And I would think that Henderson obviously will do lots and lots of the talking because that's his role. He's a captain, etc. So I'm pretty sure they'll be fine. I don't think Liverpool will play any different just because Henderson and Fabinho are playing as two centre-backs.
You sound relatively confident in general, so this evening?
Well, listen, no, you know what? I've seen Southampton a few times this year. They're really good. They're like, if I dare say, they're a kind of smaller version of Liverpool because they press extremely well. The three forward players, all good. Movement's great. Shea Evans is starting to look a proper player now as well. Redmond, all these guys, Ward-Prowse, they're good at the back. I think the manager's driven. The manager's a bit like Klopp in many, many respects in terms of the way he is with his team, the way he sets them up, and also the way that they press. So I don't think we're in for a game where the two teams are going to sit back and admire each other. I think they'll go for it, both of them. Yeah,
it was funny. Like 2 weeks ago, if we were to go back as far as then, after that Crystal Palace game, it didn't really feel like the opening game of 2021 for Liverpool against Southampton would carry the weight that it has all of a sudden. With the way they've dropped points over the last couple of games over Christmas, and Manchester United have come back into things. Man City have started to look like themselves again. All of a sudden, now, like there is pressure on this evening.
Yeah, there is. Well, there is, but I think we sort of have been watching this for a long, long time and playing in this particular league, although under a different guise. Just know if you win the league 1 year by masses of points, it's always far more difficult the next. Chuck COVID into the mix, chuck the fact that, no crowds, etc., or there weren't the odd 2,000 here and there. No great pre-season as well for players. So it was always going to be close, and I think it will be. I think the thing with Liverpool is that West Brom at home and Newcastle away, look, they made enough chances probably to win 4 games. All right, they drew both of them, but it's very, very rare that they only score 1 goal. But also the fact that I think that that the front three don't really fire, which is most unusual. And you know what it's like, Neil, now with football is that if you're winning virtually every week and all of a sudden 1 week you draw or even lose, it's a calamity. And it's a catastrophe. And we know it's not. It just isn't, because other teams will draw, other teams will lose. I would say there's probably 5 teams in with a shout of winning the league. But I think the top 3 or the best 3 in terms of winning it, I would go the 2 Manchester clubs and Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. As the days go by, like we had the West Brom game. I know you were on with us last week as well, talking leading up into the Newcastle game. Is that West Brom result looking a bit more concerning ever since then when you see how bad West Brom have been, or have they just been 2 games where Liverpool could arguably still be out on the pitch right now playing those 2 games, and they're just days when the ball isn't going to hit the net again?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I don't think there's any great problem. West Brom basically played 6-4, didn't they? And they got away with it. And the thing with them, I think Klopp treated it in the right way, which is certainly publicly, which was we've got a point more to our total. But I think privately he would have looked at all the videos, etc., and analysed everything. But And the same with Newcastle. I mean, the goalkeeper, Darlow's obviously allowed to play extremely well. In fact, he was outstanding. But that just shows you the number of chances that they made. But I think when you're in amongst it as well in those teams, it's just, you don't lose. That's the first thing if you're not maybe firing on all cylinders. But it's not really an issue because, Liverpool's form away from home hasn't been particularly good. But, hey, the top of the league, or last time I looked, they're still top of the league. So that's just the way that it is. I think everybody wants to everybody would love it this year or this season to be 5 teams on the last day, all with a chance of winning the league. I don't think it will, but I think it might be 2 or 3 very, very close in terms of games towards the end of the season where, one of the 3 can win it. And that would be great for the neutral. And if it were Liverpool again, well, fantastic. And a lot of people always said about all the players that they're missing, etc. But really, there's not too many players that would come back into the team. Of course, the 2 centre-backs would come back. I can't think of too many others. So they aren't really missing that many important players, and the front 3 are all fit. And oh my goodness, I mean, the front 3 for over 3 years now have just been absolutely incredible. They really seriously have.
You said, they aren't missing too many other players aside from centre-back. Someone they had been missing came back against Newcastle off the bench, starting this evening. Thiago, when he came on against Newcastle, I know, as we were saying, they could still be there this evening and it just felt like they weren't going to score, but he was absolutely sublime for the bit he was on the pitch last week.
Oh, it's a class act. He's absolutely, totally a class act. My only worry is because of his age, he might be... they have a saying in the game a little bit, which is he's made of glass. That he can get injured quite a lot. I mean, he's already been injured on a couple of occasions. It's not his fault. It's just the way that it is. Matip's the other one. Matip's another one that's made of glass a little bit and misses an awful lot of games. The great thing for Liverpool, I mean, Oxlade-Chamberlain's starting tonight, isn't he? So, the great thing for Liverpool is they've got all these players that can come in and play in different positions. Whatever team he picks as well with Klopp, this is the thing, is it doesn't change the way that they play, regardless how many are missing. It's all the same. It's press, it's press, it's press, it's press. And as we've seen from majority of the teams, it's very, very difficult to deal with. And that's probably why Hasenhüttl has looked at his players and thought, that's why we're going to play. And he's done it. He's mirrored them in many, many ways.
You mentioned the away form there. So just 2 away wins this season, 3 draws in the last 4 on the road. Those 3 draws as well being Fulham, Newcastle and Brighton. 3 games you should be expecting to win. I know you're saying that they are still top of the table. They haven't been losing games, but they are a significant dropped points against teams that you absolutely should be beating.
Well, you should be, but you're not, and you are still top of the league. But also the other thing is as well is that we are looking at this Liverpool team, and what we're doing with it is we're not comparing it against all the others. We're comparing it against the way they were last season, which was just phenomenal, and the number of points they got the season before. And I think the history of the Premier League and the old Division 1 is you might run away with it one year. You might even, the second year get loads of points in front of people, but the third year you don't, and it's a scrap. And basically that's the way that it is. And it's not as though people have suddenly found out the way that Liverpool play, because we've known virtually within 6 months of Klopp taking over the job, this, the whole pressing thing was the big thing. And I know what you're saying, but it's not, when you're kind of within the camp and looking, and you're saying, you don't say, oh, we're not playing very well and we only keep drawing and we should be doing this, we should be doing that. It's like, and especially at the moment with so many games, you just keep rolling. And that's the way that it is. And I think privately that Klopp, and I don't think he'll admit this, but he knows it's going to be different this year. Well, it already is, but he knows, and he knew at the start of the season that it would be different because, they've been on such a high, and also the situation which they're playing the games now as well. And if you say that last year they were totally at 100%, you might say at the moment they might be kind of 75, 80. So there is that chance to go higher in terms of percentage, but they also might drop a little bit. But I just think that's the way that the league's going to be. I think home advantage counts for very little generally in the Premier League, which was seen by results. So we're going to have strange results throughout the course of the season for me. And even with the top teams playing, not so much the very bottom teams, but, from kind of 16 upwards, it's going to be some crazy results still.
Yeah, we had commentary of the Chelsea-Man City game yesterday, Man City's 3-1 win, and it was something that came up after the game that Man City now up to 29 points. They're 4 back from Liverpool and Man United, but they have a game in hand heading into this evening as well. If there was one team in that kind of bunch of about 6 or 7 within touching distance of Liverpool, would Man City be the one that Jurgen Klopp might actually be seriously looking over his shoulder a bit at?
Yeah. I mean, Manchester City, we're looking at them. Manchester United, we're looking at them and got lots of match winners yet, had a really good run yet. Does it look like the teams can get at them? Absolutely, totally. I was at Old Trafford the other night, doing the game. And Villa were a little bit unlucky in the end, not to get a point. OK, Man United did deserve to win, but Villa were unlucky. So, look, the thing with Manchester City, they've got top players, and you'd argue that maybe their second best player after De Bruyne, Aguero, is still to come back in the side and get fit and running and scoring. So I think, they've looked a little bit different, Manchester City, this season. They've looked almost like, without Aguero in the team, it looks like the midfield players are kind of thinking, crikey, we can't really pass it into Jesus, we can't do this, we can't do that. And they've been a little bit kind of almost standoffish, but that if they click, and I mean, they've gone quite a long run now as well, unbeaten, haven't they? But if they click, they're capable of beating absolutely any team in the league, and they're also capable of putting 3, 4 or 5 past you, most of you.
Mm-hmm. And on City then as well, like City and Liverpool meet on the 6th of February. City's Premier League fixtures leading up to that game. So we Brighton, Palace, Villa, West Brom, Sheffield United and Burnley. It's entirely conceivable they're winning 6 out of 6 or 5 out of 6 leading into that game. Before Liverpool play Man City, they still have to play United and Spurs in that time as well. Like that game on the 6th of February, it's entirely conceivable Man City could be ahead of Liverpool at that stage. Yeah,
could be. Could well be. But in all honesty, I don't think it'll affect the way that Liverpool play. It certainly won't affect the way that Manchester City play. So I'm presuming then, after the run of fixtures you've told me about with City, they're going to have a run of tough fixtures. So you've got to play everybody. Twice. And I know when we look at these games, and you hate that thing, it's a 6-pointer, it's all that kind of stuff, which it kind of is and it isn't it? So, look, and I think also it's so early in the new year. I mean, even early first week in February when City play Liverpool, awful lot of games to play. Who knows, Champions League, where they will be, because obviously that starts a few weeks after as well. So, look, I think I do think Liverpool will win it. I think it'll be really close, and I do think the only real other teams have got a chance. City would be the next, and then Manchester United look at Chelsea and think not ready yet. Don't know the best team. You can't lose, 3 games out of 4 or 4 games out of 5? That you can't do that and win the league. Arsenal not good enough. Tottenham will still be a little bit Mourinho's team, which is never really takes the handbrake off. So, although I think all those teams will be in the top 5 and maybe you might chuck Leicester in, I think, Liverpool for me, City very close and Manchester United not far behind.
So do you think we have a 3-way shootout heading down if we're talking maybe from March onwards when teams start to kind of break clear a little bit? I think most people would expect Liverpool, Man City. Do you think United are in that trio, or are they in a best of the rest at the moment?
I do, Neil. And in fairness to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when they were struggling a little bit at the start of the season, he said, look, our preparation we're miles behind, and we all thought, yeah, it's just an excuse. But looking at the way they've progressed, I think it wasn't an excuse. Their preparation was miles behind, and also maybe even now he still really doesn't know his best team. I mean, he played kind of Pogba on the left of a diamond the other night. He doesn't really want to play there because he's inside all the time, and he let Aston Villa's right back through on a few occasions. So he's still very much the manager looking for his best team. But all the while he's got he's got lots of players who can win games on their own. Really seriously has. And, you know, you might even argue he's probably got, maybe even got more than the likes of Liverpool and Man City in terms of actual match winners, and somebody just to, to score a goal out of nothing.
We have a text in here on our YouTube stream just referencing Jordan Henderson and Fabinho starting at centre-back today. Does this mean Klopp thinks that the available centre-backs aren't good enough?
Yeah, but I would also in my reply to you, I would say not good enough yet. They've all done all right. In fact, they've done well so far. But you know, he's looked. I think he's looked at Southampton and thought pace, front three, loads of pace. So he's kind of thinking, okay, we don't really need a centre-back who's particularly good in the air, because that's not going to be the case the way this game is. You watch now, Southampton will score from a corner.
They'll be pumping balls in all afternoon.
Yeah, but so he's thinking pace all over the pitch. That's what he's doing. Look, it's if you're a player generally and you're a midfield player, you can play at the back, and nowadays a lot of the central defenders can play in midfield as well, because everybody's far more cultured on the ball, and it's much easier as well. And you don't really get the Joe Jordans and Mickey Harfords and all those kind of fellas who just wanted to knock you out in the first 20 minutes. That's all gone. And look at someone like Benteke at Crystal Palace. He's about 6'5", and playing against him, you think, oh my goodness, but he's not roughy toughy, is he? So that's all gone. So it's not quite the deal that it was. And teams play from the back, and they don't play 30, 40, 50-yard balls through to the centre forward, apart from maybe at times Burnley. And Liverpool play Burnley, I think, in a couple of weeks. So that'll be an interesting one.
Certainly will be. Do you expect them to get a bit of cover in defence, though, over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think if there's anybody available that he wants. I mean, the thing with Jurgen Klopp, he's always waited. He's been prepared to wait. He waited for Alisson. He waited for Van Dijk, and everybody knows about the ability of those two and how fantastic they've been for the football club. And he's not one just to say, oh well, we'll take him just as cover. I don't think he's that kind of manager. He's thinking, well, what's the point? So, but in
the past, has that need not always been in the past that like they needed a long-term option, like with Van Dijk, so they were happy to wait? Whereas now they kind of need bodies as much as they need, a long-term option, because they know Van Dijk is good, they know Joe Gomez is good if and when he gets back fit again. But at the moment, it's just they're short on bodies, isn't it? Yeah, a little bit. Lovren's gone, Annie, so you're probably talking only really through with Matip, and as we said before, he's a bit kind of made of glass. But it's also, because he's got a fabulous dressing room, and it really seriously is, and, it does a lot of work for him that managers at other clubs have to do for themselves. So he's got to think about that. And also, I mean, how does he sell it to somebody? If he wants to bring somebody in, but he doesn't think this person's going to play on a regular basis, how's he going to sell it to him apart from giving him a barrel full of money? So it's one of those, isn't it? I'm sure he'll be looking. I mean, the recruitment's been fabulous. That's one of the great things about Jurgen Klopp and the recruitment team in the last 2 to 3 years. The recruitment team has just been amazing when you think about it, because they've made very, very few stoomers over players. They'll be looking, they'll know. But I'm looking around and I'm thinking, well, who are they going to get? And also, the other thing with them as well, of course, is that, we are in COVID. We're not kind of sure in terms of how long crowds aren't going to be let in. Teams are literally losing money hand over fist. So we'll wait and see. And, that the guys from Boston have been brilliant with him. Absolutely fabulous. And, that they trust him so much. And, when he went to them for Alisson for 75 million, and they must have thought, oh, my goodness. But, look what a player he's turned out. So they'll back him. But as I say, it's who you're going to get and what type of player you're going to get. And you don't really need one that's going to be, that's going to be great in 18 months or brilliant in 18 months. You kind of need one now that can come in and play whenever. Mark Lawrenson, thanks a million for joining us. Enjoy the game tonight. Thank you. And a happy new year to Mark as well. We'll be back after a quick break.